आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ऋकारस्त्वन्धकारो वै ऋकारस्त्वन्निवर्तकः अन्धकारनिरोधित्वात् गुरुरित्यभिधीयते। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः वशेम देवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। So today we will start the Kaivalya Upanishad, having gone through some of the background in the last few classes, and also looking at the prayer. So I think that with the Kaivalya Upanishad class, what is needed is a kind of like a complete setup for this endeavor of the knowledge. So previously, when we were looking at what we technically call Prakarna Granthas. So Prakarna Grantha means like the Drikdishya Viveka and Tattva Bodha and so on. Prakarna Grantha meant a book on a topic by topic. And so as such, it was not necessary to have a complete package of what is necessary, what is required, what is good to have in order to have a successful dialogue between the teacher and the student. Here in the Kaivalya Upanishad, we will go through that because this is the way it should be and it's necessary. And so, so the prayer is part of that, where you, because of the difficulty, this is not easy. And so we really need to have all the support necessary for us to accomplish this. So a prayer from seemingly unseen things are also necessary. Please keep our bodies healthy, our mind pure, and all of the disturbances that can possibly disturb us. Pardon me. All the disturbances also, please keep them away, and so on. So the prayer is necessary. Now we are going to look at the best way to learn how to communicate and so on and so forth. So we're now going to start all that. All I'm saying is that the Kaivalya Upanishad book and the Kaivalya Upanishad course allows us to have a perhaps not as detailed but a complete package of what is necessary from start to finish, which was not there in the earlier textbooks that we saw in the Drigdishya Viveka and so on. So that's all, this is what we're doing. So today we start with that. And so I think to appreciate this, to get a background on the appreciation for what is necessary and so on, it should be understood that this communication is more subtle than would be the case if it's a straightforward communication. You know, you do this and this is what it is and so on. That's a straightforward. Here, there is a little bit more more establishment of the context that is required. And so, in the technical parlance, this is what we called Vachya Artha versus Lakshya Artha. So, this should be appreciated. What is the difference between Vachya Artha and Lakshya Artha? So, Vachya Artha means that something that you point out directly, like you say, you say, please bring me a cup of water. Okay. And so the cup of water is quite direct. You have established the words cup and the water, put the water into the cup. This is called Vachyartha. And and Swami Vidyatatmananda gives this very example. So this is called Saindhava Anaya. So Saindhava Anyaya means, so Sindhu means ocean. So Saindhava means the one pertaining to the ocean. So means maybe just bring me some ocean water. So this could be one. But Sindhu also is a region now in Pakistan. It used to be all part of India. So you know the word Sindhi. So the Sindhi is a class of people. Many of our friends are Sindhis that come from Sindha, the region called Sindha. This is where Karachi. So they have their own language and their own culture and unique, and it has now become part of Pakistan. And so Saindhava means people belonging to Saindhava, to Sindhu rather. Saindhava means belonging to Sindhu. So they are very fond of cultivating horses. So one can say Saindhava Anaya means please bring a Saindhava means a horse. So the context there is a horse, not an ocean water. So all I'm saying is, all what is being said here is, so please understand this, that Atma, which is the basis of all expressions, but not the expressions themselves. See? So this is what is called the seed of the whole creation. But it doesn't manifest itself as an object. You know, exactly the same issue is that supposing you have water in an ocean. So the water in an ocean has the ability to express itself in various forms. Foam, you have various waves, you have breakers, huge, small wavelets, and those are the expressions. But in that sense, the water is formless. So water also is not a perfect example, but just it's a temporary example to see things. The water itself does not have the form, but it becomes formful. It is capable of becoming formful. So wave is not the water, but it is a form of the water. So the Atma also is something like that, where the self means our own reality, who we are, and so on and so forth, that it will never manifest itself as something that you can see, but it is the very basis of all the manifestation. Just like water is the form. So the Atma is formless. So you cannot say, show me where the Atma is, because I can see other things that are around me, but I don't see the Atma. I don't see myself. Well, you are the one who is seeing everything. But I need to know. Where's the issue? What are you trying to tell me? I need to know where that Atma is. Well, the Atma is not something that you can express as a form, but it is behind all the forms. Well, how can you say that? Then please explain this to me. Okay, so I can explain it to you as a lakshartha. So lakshartha means one which is indirectly indicated. Indirectly indicated. It is not directly indicated, but an indirectly indicated. And so for instance, so this is where the communication between the teacher and the student has to take place, because the context has to be understood. So for example, they have what is called adult jokes with a lot of sexual innuendo about the joke. So this is called an adult joke. Okay. Now, if you tell an adult joke in front of very young children, 4 or 5-year-olds and so on, they are hearing the same thing as an adult is hearing, but they don't laugh, because the words themselves are lakshartha, not vachartha. But an adult who has lived through life and is familiar with the sexual content of words and so on, and the implications, the very peculiarity of sexual relationships and so on, if you tell a joke which is an adult joke, the adults can laugh. So this is what is called lakshartha, not vachartha. So for the lakshartha, a certain amount of eligibility has to be there, isn't it? Because you need to have some idea of where the adult sexual situations are. Only then you can appreciate this joke. Otherwise, you cannot appreciate it. Now, in the case of the Atma, we have a very interesting situation because, in fact, Swami Dayanand used to say that really uh, the Vedantic teaching is like an adult joke. Like an adult joke. It's not an adult joke, but it's like an adult joke in the sense that if the context and the eligibility is well established, this is what we are talking about here. So we are going to be, I'm just giving you the background for this, where what is eligibility? What is the context? What do I need to do to really enjoy this joke? Is what we are talking about. So the Vedanta is like an adult joke that if you are mature enough to understand the lakshartha, the indirect meaning, the laughter is permanent and very deep. In the case of an adult joke, you can make people laugh for like a minute and ha ha ha, everybody's happy and so on and so forth. Then they go back to their own miserable life. But in the case of a Vedantic adult joke, it is a permanent laughter. This is how important it is. But to understand the lakshartha, a certain amount of chemistry, eligibility, contextual understanding has to be created. If you don't have it, then you will not laugh at it. You won't understand it. Like a 3-year-old cannot understand an adult joke. Similarly, an unprepared person cannot understand a Vedantic joke. It's not a joke. It's a very, in fact, it is said about the style of Adi Shankara. Adi Shankara, Shankaracharya, is considered to be a very good middle link, as we saw in the initial prayer also. Very middle link about the teachings of Ishvara all the down to what we are learning now. Asmadacharya Paryantam, Vande Guru Parampara. So Shankara is considered to be a carrier of this knowledge in a very clear manner. And what is said about him, that his style of teaching, of writing and communicating is what is called Prasanna Gambhiryam. Prasanna Gambhiryam. So, Prasanna means very pleasant. Gambhiryam means serious. Gambhira. Gambhira means a very, very serious, not a joke. So Gambhiryam means the depth of it, the seriousness of it is called Gambhiryam. But the Gambhiryam here is not unpleasant. Usually we have this feeling that, come on, be serious. You're laughing too much and so on. Come to the serious aspects of it, as though seriousness means no laughter. This is not like that. So here, the seriousness itself is the laughter. So in that sense, even though it's not a joke, because joke is very casual. You can just give some small anecdote and then make people laugh for a moment. But this one is Prasanna Gambhirya. Anyway, so this is the context of it. So therefore, a lot of the discussion here is with respect to preparing this context. Because unless you have this context, it doesn't really, you're not eligible for it. You're not eligible for it. And so to have the eligibility, to have the effectiveness, You have to see what is required. There was an example given um, by Swami Maheshananji. He said, suppose you are the President of India, and the Indian President is ceremonial, uh, kind of like the British Queen. It is ceremonial, but an important one and well respected and well recognized. He lives in one of the best palaces in New Delhi, uh, and so on. So let's suppose the context is that the President of India is sitting in his chair in the morning reading the morning newspaper. This is the setting. Okay? While he's doing that, there is a voice which says, please get up from the chair. Now, this voice which says, please get up from the chair, you don't even have to have please. It says, please get up. He looks around and sees there is a cleaning lady who is vacuuming the floor. There's some mess on the carpet, and she wants him to get up so that she can clean this area. Would he not immediately get up? Of course he would. He would immediately get up from the chair and go over to some other place while she cleans up this area, because she is eligible for cleaning and telling people, let me do my job. But whereas, supposing he's sitting there reading a newspaper and somebody just comes up to him and says, get up from the chair. He looks around, he has never heard of this person. And he is just talking just very abruptly. So he will say, who is this guy? He'll call his security people and say, what's he doing here? Why is he asking me to get up? Not eligible. Not eligible for him to say get up. A beautiful example, because it doesn't have to be almost like a positive. A little cleaning lady who has no standing in the whole thing, but she is eligible because she has to do a job, and the president also recognizes it, so he immediately gets up. Similarly here also, all of the things that we are talking about has to do with creating that eligibility so that this communication, and this communication is not simple because it is, why is it not simple? You should remember this. Why? Because the Atma is Lakshyartha, not to Vachyartha. In some other cases, Vachyartha or Lakshyartha both can be used, but not in the case of Atma. Why not? Because the Atma is never there as an object. It is always there as a subject and not understood very well. And so Lakshyartha has to be used, where you have to say, don't you see that you are the one behind around the whole world? Otherwise, if I'm not eligible, these words don't mean anything to me. What? What are you talking about? How can I be around the world is nothing but a dream and I am the Satyam? No, it doesn't make any sense. But if my eligibility is there, it is the truth. That is the truth. Anyway, so that's the... so what it means is, so let's do this. This is a topic that we will spend some time on, but let us at least see the first verse of the of the Upanishad, and then we will break it down. So I think what I will do is I will pause on this area of eligibility and requirements and the whole package and so on. Let's just look at the as a change. We will look at the first verse and the words and the word meaning. Let's just do that, so that then I'll go back and fill in the overall picture of the eligibility, which I have started already doing. Okay, so let's do that. So I think what I'll do is, in the beginning, I will pronounce the sentences twice so that you are familiar with the Sanskrit pronunciation of these. And I assume that you all have a copy of the book, so I will just straight away just refer to the page numbers. I think that the whole thing is there in the back. Yeah. So on page, if you want to refer to all the words together, it's given on page 211. But for now, let me just go back to page 32, where the first verse is given. So let's just, let's pronounce it and also look at the word by word meaning, and then also the sentence meaning. But the explanation of that will happen a little bit later on. Okay? So let me pronounce every line twice. Om Athashvalayano Bhagavantam Parameshtinam Upasametyuvacha. Om Athashvalayano Bhagavantam Parameshtinam Upasametyuvacha. Adhihi Bhagavo Brahma Vidyam Varishtam. Adhihi Bhagavo Brahma Vidyam Varishtam. Sada Sadbhihi Sevyamananam Nigudham. Sada Sadbhihi Sevyamananam Nigudham. Yatha Chirat Sarva Papam Vyapohya. Yaya Chirat Sarva Papam Vyapohya. Parat Param Purusham Yati Vidwan. Parat Param Purusham Yati Vidwan. So let me just read the sentence first in English. Om. Thereafter the sage Ashvalayana approached Brahmaji, the revered grandsire, and said, O Lord, please teach me Brahma Vidya, self-knowledge, which is the noblest and is always resorted to by the good people, the one which is the highest secret, and by knowing which the learned ones cross all sins before long and reach the highest Purusha. Om. Thereafter the sage Ashvalayana approached Brahmaji, the revered grandsire, and said, O Lord, please teach me the Brahma Vidya, self-knowledge, which is the noblest and is always resorted to by the good people, which is the highest secret, and by knowing which the learned ones cross all sins before long and reach the highest Purusha. Long, quite a big one. And so this one, Swami Viditatmananda has called approaching the teacher. So this section of approaching the teacher is from page 32 to 57. This is the first verse. Approaching the teacher. With the teaching, even the teaching hasn't begun yet, or that will happen later on. But the whole context of asking for this vidya from the teacher is given in this one called Approaching the Teacher. So this may be a lot of pages for you to finish in one setting. Anyway, we'll see the homework later on. So let's look at the word meanings. So Atha. So Om, of course, is the name of Ishvara, of the Lord. And we know we've already seen that, I think, to a certain extent. So I won't spend much time here. And we can go back to it if we need to. Atha. So Atha means thereafter. And so thereafter basically means after a person has become qualified. That's what it means. And we have seen this in great detail in the Brahma Sutra, Atato Brahma Jigyasa. So we have spent a lot of time there in the Brahma Sutra. It's the same meaning here. So Atha here means after you have become eligible. So this is an indication of maturity. It's very much like, you approach a known specialist in a given field. I have a friend who was telling me this. He says that he specialized in heart surgery and in fact of heart replacement or heart repair, I think, not heart replacement but heart repair. So open heart surgery, which I went through 20 years ago. So I had a blockage, and so I had an open heart surgery where they actually cut open the ribs. The marks are still there. If I open up my shirt, you will see that. Once in a while I will go in for some medical examination, and they'll ask me to take my clothes off, and the nurse will say, "Oh, so you've had heart surgery?" I said, "Yes." She says, "I can see the mark." And so this whole thing was done like that. Really, just you just cut the. It's just amazing how this is done. Amazing. The whole rib cage is cut into two and pulled apart, and then the surgery is done on top of that. Then they put it back again. So this was done about 20 years ago. So one of my neighbors, an Indian person, who I didn't know very well, we had met him in some social gathering, and so he came to see me and wanted to just be supportive of it and so on. So I appreciated that while I was recovering in the next room from here. And then I didn't know what he did. So I thought he was just, he said, "I'm a physician." So I thought he was just one doctor. Turns out he's a heart surgeon. He does these kinds of things. Then later on I found out that once he became well versed in heart surgeries, he decided that he's going to get training from Dr. Debaki, who was one of the pioneers of open heart surgeries. I think, I'm not sure whether in Dallas or in Houston, one of those two places. So he was telling me that I approached him and I said, I really want to train under you. So he was asked, what's your eligibility? So he says, I've done this, I've done that, and so on. And he had to prove his background. Then he was accepted. And he says, I really wanted to do that. And he became an expert. And so I had no idea he's now retired, but he became an expert in open heart surgery in this area, and his name is Balvinder. And then, he became an expert on his own. But he really approached him and said, I want to learn. So this is the meaning of the word atha. Atha means you should not even approach a teacher. Now, of course, in our case, things are different because we're talking about the ideal case. The ideal case is where you should find a teacher who you have discovered to be someone who knows, and you have to approach the teacher and say, Sir, can I please learn it from you? So that may not happen in our setting per se, but I will tell you what, the essence of this is very true. The essence of it being, you must have a desire to know. And I see this in my life every day. And I made some mistakes early in my life when I was looking for some students. I would actually approach people thinking that they might be good, only to find out that many attempts on my part to get them engaged in this study fell nowhere. So finally I said, this is not working, I shouldn't do this. And Vedanta all says it, that you have to want to learn. Do not teach it to someone that doesn't want to learn. It is not good for anyone, not good for you, not good for them, because they will dismiss it. They will have an attitude, I don't know what is being talked about, this is something very funny. And they'll say, okay, let me just be polite to them. And they'll say, okay, interesting, this, that, or the other, but do nothing about it. So really speaking, the most important one is either through whatever methods you have, that interest to learn must be there. This is why, for example, I have a family and they don't have a desire. No. They don't discern the issue, and I'm very happy with them. Whatever they are Ishvara's people. They're not my people, not my sons and my wife and so on. Whatever they are, they are. And if they are not ready for it, then my teaching them will go nowhere. So this is the meaning of the word atha. Atha here means ones who want to learn. And we'll go into this in more detail. And I want you to, I would, let me just do this. Let me just do this halfway. So from 32 to 57, so half is what? So if I can give you this homework, please for next week, read pages 32 to 47. Okay, through 47, where the new topic is, the knowledge of the self is most secret. That is the new topic on 47. So up to that, kindly read it. Okay. I will also go over that to a certain extent, but please read this as well. So let's go through the word meanings again. We haven't really quite finished. Let's do that rather quickly. So atha means thereafter. We've already gone through in great detail. Ashvalayana. Ashva is not, I said Ashvalayana. No, it is Ashvalayana. Is the name of a rishi. Here in the case of a rishi means already quite a well-learned person. He approached Brahmaji. So this is how it is said that Brahmaji was given this knowledge by Ishvara, by Shiva, and then Brahmaji, who's the creator of the whole universe in this context, in this kalpa, because every kalpa has a different initiator. The day, he's the initiator of this Brahmaji, the very beginning. So this person, Ashvalayana, approached Brahmaji. It's not an easy thing to do. He himself must have been a great seer from the previous one. Hasn't completed the job, but he's a great seer. And he's qualified, and he approaches Brahmaji and says, "Sir, please teach me." Upasametya. Upasametya means having come close. Remember the word upa? You remember that? We saw that in the word Upanishad. So Upanishad means something. Upa means very close. He did not give them a phone call and said, "Can I please talk to you?" No. He has to go. This is why even in our case also, a close relationship between the teacher and the student is necessary. As you will see, you already see quite a bit of it, but you should be able to ascertain this. So Upasametya, Uvacha said, Adhihi. Adhihi means please teach me. So it's the second person of Adhihi. Bhagavaha. Bhagavaha means, O Lord, Bhagavan. Bhaga astiti as Bhagavan. One that has Bhaga means all possible qualities, which is Bhagavan. So Bhagavaha. Then what should you teach me? Brahma Vidya, the ultimate knowledge of the whole world, the knowledge of the self. Varishtham. So now Varishtham and Nigudham are the two qualities of Brahma Vidya. Brahma Vidya is the subject and it has a couple of qualities. One of them is Varishtham. Varishtham means the noblest, the best. And all this has a reason for it. So it's not just an idle praise, but in fact it is a factual understanding of the importance of this Vidya. So Varishtham. And I will also then skip over the Sada Sadbhi Nigudham. No, let me not school. I thought that the Nigudham was next to Varishtham, but it is not. So I'll just go by sequence. Sada Sadbhi Sevyamananam. So Sadbhi means by noble good people, one who are very who are dharmic, who are very straight, dependable, good people, good people. And so all good people, so ones who are resorted to by all the good people, and always by all the good people. That is the common one. The people that go into problems are the ones who resort to deceit and cutting corners and also um, lying and so on. It's interesting that we were just talking about lying. That word just triggered a thought in my mind. So yesterday we were visiting a friend, and so I had bought this new car, which is the Mustang Mach-E, which is all electric car. I bought this and I ordered it in early February and I got it in late June, so I'd have to wait for quite a long time. And so I was visiting a friend yesterday and I was telling him about this car. And so he says, "Oh, it's interesting, and tell me more about it. What's the range?" So I said it says 305 miles. He says, "Really? That's pretty good." Then he asked me, "What do you really get?" So I told him, because now I've driven about 2,500 miles in the last 2-3 months, that if I go on the highway, then if it says that I have spent 100 miles of battery, it's equal to the 100 miles that I am actually traveling. So it's a 1-for-1 on what they say and what it actually does. But if I'm going on the city with pushing the brakes and recharging the battery, I get actually more than what it says. So I told him that I get really more like 350 miles on an average per recharge. He says, "Really?" He says, "I have a Tesla that doesn't come close to what it states the range is. It's much less than that." So I said, "Well, I think Ford has been very conservative." He says, "Not a question of being conservative. Tesla is a liar. They lie through their teeth. They should not be saying that at all. They've come up with some artificial method of measuring it and they say this is what it is." He says, "I'm very unhappy with it." So this is called lying. So the good people, in this particular case, Ford may have lied in some other cases. See, one of the issues I think we find is that the businesses in general either exaggerate or pure lie. Very unfortunate. They'll make all kind of claims and they never really come through. Hardly ever come through. Some probably do, I think, maybe in exaggeration. So anyway, the good people here means the ones who are honest, dependable, dharmic, and who do they learn from? What do they learn? What is in their interest? Not the bad people. We know what they want. They just want cut corners and somehow get money and so on. But the good people, he says, all the good people go into learning Brahma Vidya. He says, "I already know this." So he's saying it. He says, "Adhihi bhagavo Brahma Vidyam varishtam sada sadpihi sevyamananam." It is like, you approach people and say, "What interests you in life?" People who are very, very wise, and I want to follow what they are interested in. So that's what is meant by sada sadbhihi sevyamananam. Then comes Nigudha. Nigudha means it is secret, not easily available. It's a secret knowledge. So we'll go into what is meant by the secret later on. So this is all the qualifications. Now the second part of it, the sentence is, I know that by knowing this, yaya. Yaya here means by which knowledge, achirat. So chirat means after a long time. Achirat means not that long. Which is a reasonable period of time. Doesn't mean right away. So this is what we are doing on the Tuesday night class. So in the Tuesday night class, as you know, we are taking this Vedantic insight which says Praptasya Prapti. One which is already, it is not an obtaining something which is not there, it is obtaining something which is already there. So we gave the example of the credit card, that instead of searching all over because of certain knowledge that I have used it here, it's the whole search has been narrowed down very easily. So that's the meaning of achirat. Achirat means that it's not going to take many lives. If I just apply myself within a reasonable amount of time, I'll be able to achieve this. So yaya achirat sarva papam vipohya. Sarva papam vipohya means I will be able to discard sources of problems to me. So the problem with papam, sin, is with sins we don't use the word sin per se, but the word papam means undesirable things that are happening in my life. Falling down, getting hurt, losing money, all those kinds of things. It's called Papa Karma Phalam. Papa Karma Phalam. So he says, I will be able, by doing this knowledge, by gaining this knowledge, my protection against all Papa Karmas will become real before too long. He says, I already know this. This is what I have understood, but can you please teach this to me? So, Sarva Papam Vipohya Parat Param Purusham Yati Vidwan. So, Vidwan here means not only, so the Vidwan here means not only the good people, Sadbhihi, but ones who are not only good, but they are also learned. They are also learned. You know, it's interesting if you look at Ganesha. So the Hindu god Ganesha, that I'm sure you're all familiar with, the face of an elephant and big belly and so on and so forth. And what we normally associate the Ganesha with is that he is the remover of obstacles in my life, and he does karma phala. This is what we think of the Ganesha. In our Shastra, however, the Ganesha is all that, no question. But the Ganesha is really a symbol of buddhi, intelligence, and wisdom. This is not commonly understood. Ganesha represents mainly buddhi. So here our acharyas say that wealth, dhanam, you should be able to get dhanam, no doubt about it. You need dhanam, you need the wealth, different kinds of wealth capability in order to live a comfortable life. But if the dhanam that you go for is not accompanied by wisdom, it will do harm to you. You will misuse the money. The money is, so this is why they say that in many of the Indian temples, you have both Lakshmi, which represents dhanam, wealth, as well as Ganesha, which represents buddhi, are together. And the reason is that may I pray for not only wealth, but also the wisdom to use the wealth properly. Then alone the wealth will be beneficial to me. So similarly in that sense, so here he says sadbhihi means the good people, but also people who are vidwan, who are scholars, who want to know how best to use the money. And so this is the entire, all the words that we have done so far. So I'll just do that in one Sanskrit one. Atha ashvalayanaha bhagavantam parameshtinam upa sametya uvacha adhihi bhagavo brahma vidyam varishtam sada sadbhihi sevyamananam nigudham yaya achirat sarva papam vyapohya parat param purusham yati vidvan. So this is the context of approaching the teacher. Okay, so here one other thing, I remember the analogy of given by Swami Dayanandji when we went to the ashram with him. And he said, it's interesting. All of us have the capability of this wisdom. And if we have the capability, we have the ability to gain from it totally. But it is kind of like a wet piece of wood. Because the fire is there in all things in the life, including wood, pieces of wood also. The fire is already there. You don't have to introduce fire into it. It is already there. But you have to invoke it. As you know, all of the forest fires that is really creating such a huge environmental issue in California. I mean, it's just amazing how powerful the fire can be in burning the very basic woody areas of the country. But if you look at a piece of wood which is wet, it will not catch fire. Even though it has the ability, but it is now covered with water. It is wet. So you cannot light up a wet piece of wood. Only when the wood is dry, it will catch fire. So similarly here also for us, I'm just repeating what the earlier examples were, eligibility and so on, just picking it up again, is that we have to dry the basic elements of my life. Dry meaning I have to really become mature enough to be able to understand this. So the maturity here means what? What does it mean? What does it mean by maturity? So it has many elements to it. One of the elements of maturity is just thinking and analyzing. Thinking and analyzing my life's experiences. A headlong set of actions on my part without thinking is not wisdom. I have to be able to see what is working, what is not working. Why is it not working? Why am I not as happy as I want to be? On the previous cases when I thought I was going to do this and that will bring me happiness, has it really brought happiness to me? Should I be repeating it? Shouldn't I be looking for something else? These are the kind of thoughts that I need to have. And this is what is called maturity. The ability to think and to analyze and to conclude and to shape my experiences with respect to the wisdom. So here, the sadhana chatushtaya is a good way to look at what are the particular qualifications that I need to enhance in my life. Everybody has some aspect of it. It's not as though people are completely devoid of it. But to develop it is an important aspect of it. And so the question is, developing what? So the set of qualifications that the Vedantins point out is what is called sadhana chatushtaya. So the fourfold development, and we have studied that in the Tattva Bodha, and you have probably you've seen that already, but it just means 4 things, and one of them has 6 things. So it becomes 9 altogether. And as you know, those are Viveka, Vairagya, Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti, and Mumukshutvam. These are the 4 ones. Viveka, Vairagya, Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti. So Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti means the 6-fold uh, wealth starting with Shama. Shama Adi Yasya Shamadi. The one which is Shama, etc., six ones, and Mumukshutva. So, my sense of gaining maturity, qualifications, so that the wood becomes dry and I have the ability to really burn all of my problems. But for that to happen, I must dry my wood along the following four cases, four methods, four aspects of the same method, not four different methods. Viveka Vairagya Samadhi Shukka Sampatti Mokshita. Viveka, let's look at what Viveka means. So Viveka means basic ability to distinguish between two things. What is real, what is not real, what is moving, what is not moving, what is good, which is bad. It's called Viveka. So Viveka is actually, as we've seen, this is nothing new, is a particular form of thinking which is called Vichara. So Viveka has two things that you need to distinguish from. Vichara is a general thinking, but Viveka is a discrimination which has been simplified into two things, Atma and Anatma, Drik Drishya. We've done all of that. So this is what Viveka is, to be able to see the difference between the aspect that does not change and the aspect that does change. We saw this in the earlier class today, in the Brahma Sutra class. Those of you that attended that I should be able to see that I remain the same person who has changing parameters. Childhood, teenage, adulthood, etc. There are things changing about me, but I remain the same. So this ability to distinguish between change and not change is called Viveka. Okay, so this is one thing. Then comes the second one is Vairagya. So Vairagya means the ability to walk away from things that are not consequential, that are just giving me some temporary health, some temporary pleasure rather, but does not last. So this is called Vairagya. So Vairagya, a simple thing is, for example, if you have diabetes, then you should not be eating ice cream. Even though the ice cream gives you some temporary pleasure, you know it is harmful for you. Any sugar at that concentrated level is very harmful to you. And so you just don't even go near it. If people are serving ice cream, he says, no thanks. This is Vairagya. Inability to do that creates a problem. So here the Vairagya we will see is that, really speaking, the entire set of experiences in my life are transitory and are not amounting to anything. My ability to appreciate the self, which is unchanging, which was there even before you started this life and will be there after this life is finished, is the one I should inquire into. And that you cannot do unless you stand back from a headlong participation in this tamasha. So this is called Vairagya. Vairagya means the ability, the wisdom, the maturity to look at yourself and see what is happening. At least look into it with viveka and vairagya. Then comes the third one is shama, dama, etc. sixfold. And so the sixfold are shama. So shama means the ability to have some restraint in the type of thoughts that come to you. Entertaining the thoughts that are good for you, not entertaining the thoughts that are harmful to you. So, you know that example of eating ice cream. So, if you have been fond of eating ice cream all your life, I can give you my own example. That, yeah, who doesn't like ice cream? I do too. But once my diabetes became apparent, this is like 15, 20 years ago, you go from a pre-diabetes to yes, you're diabetic. I entertain shama when I see ice cream. I will tell my wife, can I just take a little, half a teaspoonful just to taste? And that's enough for me. I don't want to. She doesn't have diabetes. She can afford to take a whole scoop. But my mind is now restrained. If I was a child, I probably will not be able to do it. If I didn't have diabetes, it will be much more difficult. But because I know that I have a problem, no problems. It's called shama. Dhamma. Dhamma is the restraint of the organs of actions. And so here, it's very possible that your thoughts you may lose the restraining part of your thoughts, but there is another a second level of defense that you can use, which is dhamma. So, for example, you can people will say, "Come on, you can have a little bit of ice cream. It doesn't make any difference." And then you say, "No, no, no. You know what? I can't just have it. I don't." It happens all the time when you are serving the birthday cakes. So you tell someone, "Please, I do not want. I can just take a little taste from someone just so that I bless the person." They'll say, "No, no, no, come on, it's okay, you can have it." And they give you a full plate of a cake. And then you try to reach for it. You can stop right there. And he says, "No, I will suffer, and it is not the right thing for me to do. Even though my mind says go for it, my hands can stop." So the control of the hands and legs and your eyes and what you see, what you hear is called Dhamma. Uparama, Uparati is the third one. Uparama authority means that I think the best English word for that is to be together. Have a sense of this is what is happening to me, this is what I'm doing, and I want to make sure that everything is going well. I'm going to eat well, I'm going to think well, and to have a sense of control over the overall things would be uparati, uparama. We can discuss it some more. Another one is titiksha. So titiksha means the ability to withstand temporary problems and not be completely overwhelmed by it. If there is some pain, just bear it. If the temperature is not right, to a certain extent, change, get air conditioning and so on, but don't go overboard because it is all temporary. It's just going to go away. So the ability to withstand problems is what is called tritiksha. Next one is shraddha. Shraddha is perhaps the most important one, which means that you should have the ability to follow a certain path even though the results are not there yet. It's called shraddha. And samadhanam is the last one out of this load of 6. Samadhanam means just reduce the amount of thoughts and actions. Just stay within yourself. Have a mental samadhi. Samadhanam. We'll talk about that more. And the last one is called mumukshutvam. So the 4 ones were viveka, vairagya, shamadhi, shatka sampatti, and mumukshutvam. So mumukshutvam means getting into the subject matter, but not in a casual way. So the casual approach would be, let me try this. There's nothing else to do, and I think this sounds interesting. Let me give it a try. That's not what the real interest is. The real interest would be where you go back to it whenever you can, whenever you have the ability to do so. Yes, you are really interested. So in my life, for example, I really don't read a lot of newspapers and this, that. I get the news from the iPad, or rather my laptop, just to see what is happening and so on. But whenever I can, the lure of the Vedantic books is just too strong for me. Before going to bed, getting up in the morning and so on, I love reading more and more subject matter. That gives me, this is called mumukshutvam. It's very natural. I don't have to tell anyone. None of the things don't really interest me anymore. Sports, yes, I still want to follow what the Giants and the 49ers do, but I can do that in a very short amount of time. They don't really overwhelm my life. But the reading of so many texts and so on and so forth is really what triggers my thoughts, my interest. So something like that, mumukshutvam. It should not be casual. It should be very focused and attractive. It's called mumukshutvam. So anyway, these are the 4 methods of gaining eligibility and maturity, which is necessary for this whole exercise to become fruitful for you. And so we will visit this in some more different aspects of it. But that's what approaching the teacher is really what is trying to do as part of this study of the Kaivalya Upanishad. So with that, I close the class today with a prayer. Om Asato Ma Satkamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Very good to see you all. Wonderful. I don't have any questions that you are asking me for. So, with that, I take your leave and hopefully I'll see you next week. Om.